It's been a tough competition to pick so far, but what do you expect from these two teams, which are normally the heavyweights, but just battling a bit?
Well, they're struggling a little bit, but in saying that, when you get the red and black coming up against the blue and white, you're always in for a great clash. And there'll be a lot of younger players here playing having their first go against each other, and it always is great. It's a historic encounter. It doesn't matter what level we're at the moment. Canterbury, Auckland, always good games and a lot to prove. I'm looking forward to seeing the Canterbury front row have a go at the Aucklanders straight away early in the game. Crockett, you've got the likes of Crockett, Paolo, and also Johnson. So just to see if there's a bit of an edge. There always is traditionally edge, and let's see if that starts early in this fixture.
Well, the familiar sounds here at AMI Stadium. Kieran Reid leads his team out. No changes to the Canterbury lineup, which beat Otago last weekend, and again the Red and Blacks will be happy to follow the example of strapping number 8 Mose Tu'uili'i. The new laws suit Tu'uili'i well, and his ability off the back of the scrum is likely to be to the fore in what promises to be a tight contest. The All Black selectors have taken Isaiah Tuiava to Africa, but Paul Williams can be considered unlucky not to be there instead. A player with all the qualities required to succeed at the highest level, Williams' influence on attack and in defence is a major component in Canterbury's game plan. Referee tonight, Chris Pollock. And as you heard John Preston say, conditions ideal. Huge amount riding on this game. Early season, but upsets are plenty. There's been 1, 2, 3 every weekend.
About 15 seconds off.
And with two teams only 2 teams unbeaten after 3 rounds, or nearing the end of the 3rd round. Points tonight, just totally imperative.
Reed.
Underway then at AMI Stadium. Round 3 action in the Air New Zealand Cup. And Te Paulo playing his Blazer game, his 12th game for Canterbury tonight, as the first touch. And immediately idiotic play from Stanley Haukanima. What is going on with a fellow there, Matthew, who thinks he can do that right in front of the referee?
Oh, he's just eager, isn't he? Early game, wanted to try and put a big hit on. He's must be come out there thinking he's going to put a big hit on. And just have a look here, just the hands on the ball there, coming around. And just watch Tu'uili'i, he looks fired up, good to see. I just think, as I say, they lost the shield here last year, remember Canterbury, they lost it to the boys in blue and white, so they're out there to try and get one back against the Aucklanders.
Early touch for Isaac Ross. And Paulo again. As I said, it's his 12th game. He had his debut back in 2002. But with the presence of Tony Kopolani and Corey Flynn, it's been games have been few and far between for Paulo. Hit downfield from Jarrett Goebel, and it turns out to be a good one for Auckland. Quick throw in, and Paul Williams drills it deep and then bounces it beautifully just inside the touchline. No wind at all, John?
No, very, very still, Steve. As I said earlier on in the day, pretty stiff easterly, which would have been straight into the camera's face, but that died away around 5 or 6 p.m, so perfect in that respect.
Canterbury line-out hasn't been going as well as Rob Penny would have liked. See if they challenge early on the Auckland line-out.
Throw from McCartney, slap back by Williams. And Brenton Hilleur is under pressure at halfback.
Have a look where you are. That is deliberate. If I see that again, you'll be going. Away you go.
Well, there's a clear message.
Well, Mose Tu'uili'i just reminded the other player before earlier on, the Aucklander. This time gets a stern warning from the referee. Good hit, came over. It really is. There's hands on the ball. Pretty hard to get out of there, but you just got to keep your hands away from the ball in that situation, as he was reminded by that Aucklander with that last shot.
2, 4, 1, 8.
Jay Williams calling the lineouts. McCartney will look to hit his target a little better, and he does so through Hayu. Tinga, one of the few players in this Auckland side with much in the way of experience. Fairly solid-looking fellows in the Auckland forward pack. Names we haven't seen too much of. There's one, Daniel Braid, and Haiu again. 13 metres inside the Canterbury half. Munro, good enough pass in the end, but just a little slow, and Canterbury able to get there in numbers. Now there's no first 5-8, no, Munro's gone back into the pocket. It's Winston Stanley acting as the pillar, and there's Munro, drop kick, which does not record the first score of the match, and it'll be dropped down for the 22.
Well, newly announced Auckland coach Shane Howard spoke of the week around patience. Auckland were very good last week in the Shield challenge, or Shield defence, I should say, against Taranaki. Their ball retention is excellent, and there were just glimpses there straight away of their protection of the ball is very good. The end result, the outcome wasn't that flash, but ball retention, good patience from Auckland early on.
Pretty solid defence too, Coops. I think Canterbury happy with that.
Drop out is accurate, and it's been pinched, and pinched well by Michael Patterson. Keats gets a pass away. Reid, the loose forwards, the first two receivers, and it's Hopgood that takes it to the 10-metre mark in Auckland territory. And Tuolo again busy in the opening minutes. Keats afforded the luxury of looking both ways. And then some jiggery-pokery with his front row man Wyatt Crockett. But that's messy. And then it's been lost forward by Slade. Referee playing some sort of advantage, and he brings them back.
Just trying to sort each other out there. John Preston mentioned earlier around the Canterbury defence, Auckland defence equal to the challenge early on. And just trying to get there, trying to find space through there, and both might be the kick through, up and under, just other options they might have to look at, because both first-line defences look very strong early on.
Yeah, Coop, significantly both sides have flown someone up around the midfield area pretty quickly to cut off the outsides as well. Isaac Ross for Canterbury it was prior to that drop goal attempt, and there Haiu for Auckland did the same.
Right, here's our gap. Come up. Sit there and stay there. Come up. Stay where you are. Crouch. Touch. Engage.
Well, plenty happening there early. Front rows really going at each other.
I spoke about Canterbury front row, but geez, Faumuina and Faununu, Tom McCartney, some pretty heavy size, or some not heavy size, huge size in that Auckland front row as well.
Crouch.
Matthew, it's a bit like goal kicking though, it's all technique.
The touch comes when the touch comes.
Size is in advantage. Certain situations, absolutely. But
particularly with Canterbury too, Steve. Wyatt Crockett, Campbell Johnston have been around for a while.
Touch.
And, just hanging in that New Zealand system, aren't they? But it's a better scrum from Canterbury.
Very good scrum indeed. Lovely platform for Keats. The ball's been lost forward. So the early arm wrestle continues here at AMI Stadium. And there's some opportunities out wide. All fed back nicely. Winston Stanley staying on that right wing side just to make sure that Canterbury don't have a little foray down there. Keats again having time to have a look. Tuiali'i, one of the players who really needs to lead the way for Canterbury tonight. Swinging across the face of the defence is the pass from Hamilton to Ross.
Get off, Sacks!
To driven backwards. There's good retention here from Canterbury. And the kick across field from Slade will depend on the bounce. Picked off by Smith. And then Haleur under some pressure from Adam Whitelock coming through unloads, but it's not out. So the game just opening up a little now. Hamilton's kick is not particularly good, following what we've seen in the opening rounds of the New Zealand Cup this year. The kicking in the main has been poor. And that was a classic example. That's a better effort. That's a very good kick.
Oh, nice play, Auckland. Haleur at the back, combining nice with Lockie Munro. and just using the space nicely, and that's good yardage, good territory gain for the Auckland team.
Control of this match going to be vital because it's going to be a ding-dong battle up front. So plenty of pressure on Munro and his opposite Colin Slade. Points there to Munro, superb kick.
Paulo's throw overshoots the mark, grabbed by Braid, not held in the tackle, crawls towards the 22. And then the kick through from Stanley, nicely tidied up by the Canterbury skipper, Reid.
Release blue!
Midway between the 22 and his own goal line. And beautifully presented to Keats. And Slade has plenty of time. So the defence of both teams, Matthew, has been good. The attack hasn't been quite as accurate, a little impatient.
Not as accurate. Big defence, we spoke about that. And so really it's been quite an I think it's been a reasonably accurate start from both these sides. Just gauging each other's out and just working the team. Canterbury, they've talked all week about winning that collision area. And it's always a battle when you've got a man like Daniel Braid around. First things first for Auckland, get the line out right and set that platform again. Looking most probably around the midfield, another midfield target.
A lot of talk, not much action from McCartney yet. In the end, it may not have gone the 5 metres. If it did, the Auckland receiver was driven back. And every chance of a turnover. Heats looking to kick over the top. A couple of players well offside. But it's been lost forward. Grabbed by Patterson coming through. That's James Patterson, the left winger.
No advantage there, it's just lost forward.
I think that Auckland was a bit stiff there. A couple of players ahead of the kick from Keats, although it might well have been Patterson who put them onside.
Well, JP, Canterbury very good always, whether it was offside or on. The key thing about Canterbury is they do chase their kicks. They're the best team at doing that by far in the New Zealand Cup. It's a hallmark of Canterbury and Crusader rugby, isn't it, retrieving those kicks?
Yeah, definitely, Kirk. That was pinpoint accuracy, the kick from Tyson Keats. Excellent nudge, but as you say, not a lot of good without chasing. Great chasing here, as he was earlier with the Colin Slade kick, and they not bowled over Hellier at fullback as well. The accuracy of kicking all rounds become vital in the ELVs too, Coops, hasn't it? Because you know, it's always a tit-for-tat kicking situation, and players need to find space and find the ground really to give their chasing side opportunity to get up, shut down the opposition, and so the return's just not as accurate.
Crouch, touch, engage.
Keats is able to unload. And Tim Bateman, who's been solid in the early stages of this year's competition in midfield for Canterbury, takes it in. They work off him. Keats again, the kick through, bobbles, luckily for Canterbury. Back to them again. Reid breaks over the 22. The pass to Williams, and Williams is in for the first try. I don't think it was according to plan, but it was effective. Canterbury 5-0.
Absolutely. There he is, Paul Williams, 4th try in the Air New Zealand Cup for him. And just a nice move there from Auckland. Just have a look at Kieran Reid coming around there, through the dummy on the inside, went straight through. That's where the hole was, and just in the way there wasn't it David Smith, but Williams was already away. That's a good try to the Canterbury side.
Yeah, great pick up, and from Reid it was. Auckland defence certainly got caught out with the dummy. They had players to choose from the outside, and Paul Williams was the man.
Absolutely. Fell for the dummy, and you've got to take the man out. You can't fall for that, particularly in that red zone. And exposed by Kieran Reid and finished off by that man.
To Canterbury, still missing Stephen Brett. Not too far away from making a return. But the responsibilities lying at the moment with Colin Slade. And he won't be happy with that effort at all. The try remains unconverted, but Canterbury in the ascendancy in the early stages. The Paul William try has them leading 5-0.
Well, it's just around momentum, isn't it? That's that little break there. And just have a look. Just sneaking through there. That's the dummy's already gone there. He drew in at the fullback there, Jamie Halua, and over for the try.
Keats takes the kick off and then grabs some pretty useful ground. Just the precision that we've come to expect from Canterbury over the years. And accurate after scoring, not allowing the opposition an early break back. Cold, clinical, common sense rugby.
And just the enthusiasm on the chase. John Preston's already mentioned it. They just chase. The work off the ball has always been a hallmark of Canterbury. So they'll be thrilled with the start after 13 minutes.
Cartney's throws picked off by Tuiali'i. Right on halfway.
I'm playing hands wrong.
And Keats gets it away to Slade. His kick probably not with the depth he was looking for. Bounces into the hands of the Canterbury player Bateman. Just while we've got a little break in play, Matthew, I'd like to pass congratulations on to the mighty Tyree Eels down there in Dunedin after 4 years of trying and being beaten by Dunedin, every time winning today the Premier Division 2 title, 22-13. And understand that next week they'll challenge University B for a place in next year's Premier competition. So it'll be a high and mighty old night out at Mosgiel. Just remain safe, boys, please. Kick downfield, and it's a good kick too. Seen a couple of very good examples. Williams puts his foot out. Chance for a quick throw from Auckland. But just having been critical, the last couple of kicks from Auckland have been very good indeed.
Good pressure from David Smith too on Paul Williams. Up there really early, but challenge now, John. The Auckland line-out hasn't started as well as they'd like.
Cartney's throw is a long one and it overshoots the mark, and that just negates all of the effort of that kick. And downfield the ball goes. Canterbury coming through in a line. David Smith does well, but in the end he's monstered. There should well be a turnover. It comes out to Keats, and unfortunately for him, just over the touchline. But Auckland, well, that was silly. Why would you throw long when you're guaranteed to win the ball at the front of the line out and able to drive inside the opposition's 22?
Well, I think it's the problem. I don't think it's guaranteed ball at the front either at the moment with the way Canterbury are contesting. And so they're putting a lot of pressure on Tom McCartney, and there seems to be a long delay in him letting the ball go into his Auckland line-out, and I think it's because of the Canterbury pressure.
Again, there's problems, and again it's grabbed off the deflection, and Isaac Ross tidies up. It's counting against Auckland at the moment. Long passing. Caught in midfield and behind the advantage line. Hands in there. Daniel Braid. The old days that would have been a penalty, and really I know the Elves are good and it's speeding things up, but really that's cynical and that should be a penalty.
Get off the soft stuff. Scrum.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't, no doubt about it. They had momentum. They were going forward, Canterbury, and that infringement there is just slowing the game down.
Gee, set piece is an issue already, isn't it, Cooks, for Auckland? Not only line out, but Canterbury have had the hit on the last two scrums as well. Let's have a look at this one. They're going to have to sort that pretty quickly.
Lost 4 already, John, on their own throw. And we just passed the quarter an hour mark, so the confidence ebbing away in that Auckland line out.
Head above your hips.
And the confrontation that Greg Cooper was really looking forward to in the front row, certainly going the way that he thought that perhaps it might, with Johnston, Paulo and Crockett just showing some early domination. Because you know a lot about that. Did I say Greg, did I? Sorry, Matthew. But you're Murray Mixed here tonight, you see, so we don't know who we are.
But yet again, isn't it, that pressure up front. Rob Penny, they knew that they had to really muscle up against the boys from the Queen City.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. No, that was my fault.
Now, Matthew, I want you to observe the halfback putting the ball in here and tell me if it's straight or not.
I know it's the rule, but I don't really care. But I mean,
but just tell me. Yep. Just observe. Very clearly not straight.
Yeah, but if they can start playing, they've got to make up their mind if it's got to be dead straight or just let it in just to restart the game.
Well, I'll bring up another point in a moment that was raised with me during the week by a very knowledgeable rugby fellow, Keats. Gets it away to Whitelock, closing in on the 22. And Keats just getting plenty of ball. Auckland fanned out well. Reid into a good solid tackle. Retaining the ball nicely. Paulo, Williams in the line. Bateman, and Bateman's pass misses Patterson coming in. Quick throw from Auckland, no. Yeah, I agree with you, and I like the rugby league mentality of a scrum basically being to start play and start it quickly. But if you're going to pick up every line out that's off by a millimetre in terms of straightness or not, then that should transpose to the scrum or back the other way. You can't have one for one and one for the other. So Auckland just spend a lot of time defending in the opening half of this first spell. Now looking to free the ball, and they'll be able to do so through a free kick. They trail by 5 points. Paul Williams the try after 11 minutes, unconverted. And Hayden Hopgood, the transgressor there.
I agree. I mean, there's the whole element around them. They're both contests, and they both have to be contestable situations in the game. So there is an element there as well. And I always like the scrum. It brings these 16 players together, and it's there to restart the game. And so they've either got to make it really clear: is it a restart to bring the players in to expose more area of play to attack on, or do you go right by the rules and it has to be dead straight? Here is another good opportunity now for right under the bin here.
Touch.
Canterbury to put the pressure on.
So away they go quickly. Braid having a look to see where his men are.
He's okay.
Hopgood has done well. Got his hands on it, but hasn't been able to reef it back. And Hilaire away to Munro.
Hold blue.
Not such a good kick. Directly to Williams. Cross to Patterson.
That's come, Reid.
May well have been Bateman.
No problem.
Nicely tidied by Winston Stanley.
Roll out, Reid.
And right on halfway. So no real pattern emerging in this game as yet. Munro, the kick and chase, it bounces, and bounces well for Auckland. Canterbury not able to tidy up, and Munro has done well there. Williams at halfback, and the forwards joining in. There might be too many forwards for real momentum to be made, so David Smith makes his presence felt.
Wait, 9 release.
And perhaps the first real opportunity here for Auckland. But just untidy. Fa'anunu was a dropping pass, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place. And here's a chance for a counter-attack. Reid out to Whitelock, back to Reid. Williams. Wyatt Crockett, agile for a big man, charging inside the 22, retaining his feet. Now Daniel Braid all over it, as he is entitled to be, but Canterbury getting there in numbers. And now counter, well, I was going to say it's not, people call that counter-rucking, it's not, it's a counter-charge really. Very good defence.
Jarrett Goble did very well there, Auckland winger, in that counter-ruck situation. But that is nice play, John Preston from the Canterbury side.
Yeah, strung it together nicely, Coops. They really did. As per usual with the turnover ball, they just switch on. They love to attack with that. Well cleaned up from Auckland. In fact, I thought Daniel Braid was pretty unlucky not to get the free kick initially. Thought he'd done enough, actually.
Just lost a bit of pattern, Auckland, didn't they, when they were on attack inside the Canterbury 22. But here it is here. Watch Daniel Braid have the rights early on. He was on his feet. Unlucky. Jarrett Goldberg comes straight across here. Big counter-ruck from the right winger.
Paulo's throw, grabbed by Patterson. And some protestation in there from the forwards. Bateman skipping through, unloads beautifully. Whitelock over the top to Hamilton, And Hamilton dangerous this close to the line. The forwards arriving in good numbers. And Keats gets his hands on it. There's numbers out there for Canterbury. They should score. They've dropped the ball through Crockett. What he was doing there, well, fair enough, following up. But perhaps he should have been a decoy. Try gone missing for Canterbury.
The big Stanley Hakanima, he's the saviour there for the Auckland side, the big second rower. Just needed a bit of a miss here, didn't we? And this is the lovely break here from the Canterbury centre. Adam Whitelock just hit it nicely. Could have really pinned his ears back. He just seemed to stop there. He was coming into a player. Unselfish from Whitelock. And big hit coming in from the second rower. And maybe the eyes were...
I think the ball had gone by then, Matthew, but he's certainly an imposing figure in defence.
I agree about Whitelock, though, Coops. He really should have gone, shouldn't he? Probably gave the pass a little early.
Okay, bring it up there.
Nonetheless, a real chance blown from Canterbury, and that's been an issue in their game. Until this round. I mean, even last week, you know, they were dominant in phases, but gee, they blew some opportunities.
They did. Like this young Whitelock too, Adam Whitelock at centre for Canterbury.
No, it's fine. Stand up,
young players coming through. This Air New Zealand Cup. It's Tyson Keats, Canterbury halfback. So it's doing its job again, the Air New Zealand Cup. It's bringing new players through.
Crouch.
Describe this put in for me. Look where he's facing. Just a joke.
Last feet.
Auckland struggling to free this ball. And Munro having to pick off a bullet. Standing on the dead ball line. It's not out. Taken by Patterson. Back to Hamilton. Goes behind him. Bateman. The Auckland defence coming up in a good line. The halfback is fullback Williams. Run from Slade.
That closed pretty quickly.
It did.
No.
And Crockett looking to atone, playing it halfback. Paulo onto Tu'eli'i. Good defence from Auckland, making it very difficult for Canterbury to turn this huge possession into points. But Hamilton is kicked almost into space, grabbed by Halur. And then he throws a terrible pass, which is grabbed by is it Keats coming back in cover defence. There's Keats there. There's no structure, Matthew, is there?
No, it's all over at the place at the moment. And the one thing is, these players are going to get him very tired. So second half, she could really open up.
Campbell Johnston standing. And the ball should be presented to Keats. About 15 metres out. He's got a blind, but he's not interested in that. Plays it off to his forwards again.
Blue lead.
It's slow pedestrian ball. Johnston hit solidly by Braid. And Auckland looking to come around and try and force this into a maul situation, prevent Canterbury from sinking to the ground. Canterbury have the strength and the technique and the confidence to drive towards the line.
No problem here.
New laws, of course, allow this to be sacked. It's not. The ball comes clear. Back in, and the pass is a little errant, but again it comes to Canterbury. Keats over the top. Intercept. You can see that. Now, has Halur got the speed? I think he might have. Bateman's coming at him. Dragging Mamir. He's lost the ball. A try saver by Tim Bateman. Who knows how important that will be? But you would have expected Jamie Halur to have scored that try with the start he had. Terrific work by Bateman.
Well, it's all about attitude. Defence is about attitude. Winning games is about attitude. Some of these teams in the New Zealand Cup aren't showing that. But look at that lovely play too. Well played from Jamie Halur. He saw it coming, an opportunist effort. But look at this man, number 12 for Canterbury. That's all about courage. That's about attitude. Well done, Tim Bateman.
Terrific work. That was impressive, John.
Oh, that's inspirational stuff. A lot of players would have given up the ghost there early on, I believe. Hellier looked like he was going to fly to the line, but Tim Bateman, he just kept on going. And those sort of instances and matches can be the difference.
Well, you remember that, JP. You remember the mark of that guy there, the attitude to get back, chase, and pull him down. That's a big tick mark in Tim Bateman's the way that he approaches a game of rugby.
Yeah, and it lifts the rest of the side as well.
Timed it to perfection. Didn't rush, knew, and then managed to rip the ball clear. So even though Auckland were there quickly, Canterbury player back as well. There was never any chance of a try. The ball had been lost forward. 27 minutes gone. Just the sole scoring act in the match. Paul Williams a try after 11 minutes.
Touch.
And Canterbury lead 5-0. Keats, ropey old pass back to Slade, who does well, just cushions the ball into the arms really, and then unloads. Well, not much ground made, but bought a little bit of time.
I'd say that 70-metre run, or the movement of that whole 70 metres, had more effect on the Auckland tidies than it did on the Canterbury JP after that scrum.
No, I don't think any of them would have enjoyed it too much. As you say, second half could be interesting, could open up.
Running repairs for Tom McCartney. Chilly night here. You can see the players' breath and the steam, but beautiful conditions in terms of rugby really. Clear sky, no wind, lovely soul of grass.
He'll be happy too, Isaac Ross. They got 4 against the Auckland throw so far, the Canterbury second rowers. The boys in charge of the line-out, the aerial game. And so that is a concern for Pat Lamb and Shane Houth, as the Auckland line-out, the Auckland set piece, not going as well as both those coaches would have liked.
Time on.
Jay Williams, sorry, Steve. Jay Williams just run up to Tom McCartney to have a quiet word there as well. You start to wonder, mind games with Tom McCartney with a line-out.
Ideal attacking opportunity this for Auckland. And they've got that one right. So the backs now have an opportunity. Caught in midfield. About 15 metres out, if that. Allure again. Across to Goebel, but there was nowhere for him. And the ball's been spilt forward and grabbed by Canterbury. Plenty of work going in to make sure it's slow ball for Canterbury, and it's a high dropping pass from Keats down to Slade, back to Hayu, and it bounces favourably for him.
You see how it's opening up now. There's the tiredness, fatigue starting to set in from both sides.
Four-step.
Good run from David Smith in midfield, so going looking for work. Monroe back into Faumuina. And Canterbury, like Auckland, just slowing things down at the breakdown for the opposition.
Back you go two. Right.
Eventually comes out to Halert.
Advantage.
And Halkani loses the ball forward. A good tackle by Reid, who just looks to have hurt himself. A little slow getting to the ground. Kick over the top from Keats, looking for space, but it bounces kindly for Goebel, and he's running back with some intent. Work by the winger. Monroe runs back towards the heavy traffic, unloads to Braid. And players in the tackle situation very slow and getting to their feet. And I've just got a shot there of Jarrett Goebel in the background, hammered in that tackle. Smith.
6.
Hilaire operating the blind side. But it's all rather lateral. No one going forward, no one creating a platform, easy to defend. You can see there's only 2 or 3 Canterbury players in the contact situation, the rest of them just fanning out. Whaanunu takes it a metre or so forward, and then there's a turnover, so all for naught.
Yeah, the pressure of the Canterbury defence telling on Auckland at the moment. There was no structure in the Auckland, there was no back line.
They go quickly again, and then Slade kicks, but, well, it should have been a poor kick, and it's going to result in a try for Canterbury. It is. It's James Patterson. It wasn't a good kick at all, but it was Goebel, who's probably still struggling with that injury, who made a real meal of it. And both Williams and Patterson following through, and Patterson showed good patience to pick it up just short of the line and dive over. So Canterbury double its score somewhat fortuitously, but I guess Matthew in the context of things, with the territory in possession, probably a fair result.
Well, first try for James Patterson in the red and black colours in the Air New Zealand Cup. Smart work from Colin Slade. Goble's no good. He's out. He's got a bad ankle. That was Halua that bobbled the ball, but it was smart play from Canterbury, putting him behind. They were numbers down, and just the pressure. We know how good they are at the kick and chase. That time there should have been bobbled up, or should have been caught up by Halua. It didn't, and that's a good 5-pointer to Canterbury. Players are tired out there.
Yeah, well, Gobo is leaving, you're right, Coop. He's going to be replaced by Mapa Tuipulotu, jersey 22. But you can also go back to that defensive effort from Canterbury, I think, lead up to that try. Really, it was a poor error from Auckland. Finally, that's a great defensive work from Canterbury, slowing down the second phase play from Auckland that just couldn't generate any momentum.
Slade with the conversion attempt. Just drifts away. He'll be disappointed. Nice story about James Patterson. Spent quite a bit of time in America. Played rugby for the USA at 2 World Under-19 Championships. Firstly in South Africa, and then as captain of the USA team in Dubai. And was asked to play American football. Decided against it, but now regrets that decision to some degree.
There he is. There's Jared Goble. Shame for him. He started very well. I thought he's played really nicely in the first part of this game, and always a shame seeing a young guy like him going off with an injury like that.
Canterbury controlling the kick-off. Poor low to Hopgood. You just get the feeling, don't you, Matthew, in a game where the structure tends to disappear, Canterbury is the type of side that can drag it back a bit more quickly.
It's come forward into your own man.
Messy there, though, but they just, the Tuieli'is and the Hopgoods and the Reeds, the Johnstons, the Crockett's, they've played a lot of rugby.
Well, they almost know that Auckland are going to go left and right, but they're not. They haven't got a lot too much variation out there to worry that strong Canterbury defence. So they're just going to be patient and hold them and just wait. And that last time when they did score the try through James Patterson, Auckland did not have any backs left. Admittedly, Goble was down, but it just showed you that strong Canterbury defence that we've known so well over the last few years is certainly apparent here tonight.
David Smith's jumped onto the right wing to Peloto on the left.
That was out, there's no problem.
Another one stolen on the set phase situation. Kick downfield, rounded up, goes directly to hand, so not what should happen. Nicely read by Williams, who was disappointed by that. He did everything right other than secure the ball, knocked it forward, spilled it into touch, and it'll be a scrum. Mind you, such as the disarray with Auckland at scrum and line-out time, neither of those options really palatable at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of pressure coming on, isn't it? Michael Patterson, we know about him. He's an Isaac Ross, Highlander in 2008. Michael Patterson, Crusader in the second row, putting a lot of pressure on.
It was T. Paolo, was very slow to come to the scrum there. He's just dropped down on his back. Looks like he's got problems with the right ankle. Saili's very highly rated at number 8 for Auckland, Coops. Young player, quite clearly looked pretty exciting last weekend, and they just really want to try and settle the scrum down and at least get parity, if not get the right-hand side up, so they can perhaps unleash him from the back.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're all just haven't got their game going, haven't they? And that's the issue for them at the moment, is just that passage of play. But I think the big concern, Steve, has been their line-out.
Well, we're seeing classic case of it here, just not clearing the ball at all. Long time getting it in, overshooting the mark, having it ripped off them, and no fewer than 4 lineouts going the way of Canterbury on the Auckland throw. And it's just bonus ball for Canterbury, bonus territory, and certainly worth their 10-0 lead at the moment.
Engage!
Better work from the Auckland scrum this time. But a foot coming around from Hopgood, making it difficult for Halua.
Come away, Reed! Step 2!
That's another bite of the cherry. Monroe, bullet pass to Atinga, and he's rounded up by 3 Canterbury players. And again, it's slow ball. So they're not able to build any impetus here at all. And the big fellas doing their best, but again, all caught in behind the advantage line.
Great defence from Moses Tuieli'i.
This is better from Auckland. The incision made by Braid.
7 away.
Good tackling. Still outside the 22. So Canterbury still feeling relatively comfortable. Akanima takes it just centimetres, really. Canterbury well organised defence. Slightly better.
Get away!
Atinga and work.
No.
Drop kick coming up, perhaps. No, Monroe was back there, positioning himself, but he's run for position of depth. Hilaire onto Braid. Braid is almost a one-man band taking it forward at the moment. And Tuiali'i's got his hands on that ball and could very well win a turnover. He has.
Holding on. Yep.
Hamilton, quickly. And then the chip over the top. Not very well done. Comes back on his side.
You've taken him
but
early.
he knocks it on. And in fact, he's grabbed him while he's in the air, I think. Realised his mistake and sadly made it just a little worse. So a chance here for Monroe, his first shot of the evening after 36 minutes.
Here's the quick tap. No one else knew what he was doing, trying to be the opportunist player. That he is, and that's a good part about Scott Hamilton. That time, I don't think he got the right result here. Here's a good turnover. Watch Tuiali'i coming over the top there. And good play. He's had a good start to the game, Tuiali'i. I think the big concern, though, John Preston, for the Auckland side, is we've talked about set piece. They really need to get quicker ball, and Auckland are a very good set piece side when they get quick ball, good line out, good scrum, and I think they need to really attack that channel around Colin Slade, Tim Bateman, and their ball's too slow, and in the end, the loose forwards are getting out there, putting the big hits on, and they need quicker ball, and they need quality ball from set piece.
Quite a high tee being employed here by Monroe. $40 strikes it well. It's pulled it to the left and it remains Canterbury 10, Auckland 0. Haven't seen a kick go over tonight yet.
Certainly can't blame conditions, guys, because it's outstanding for kicking down here. Purely directional at the moment.
Closing in on half-time in Christchurch. Canterbury leading Auckland 10-0. Breakdown in communication, but it works out well, and it's David Smith. And we know how well Smith can run, and he's run well here. Leaves it there for Bray. Beautiful transition onto Hakanima running towards the 22. So this is better from Auckland. Canterbury have got back in defence, but Auckland now just feeling as though they've got some momentum. Critical time for them to score if they can, but the ball's been hacked through and belted downfield. And it's the big fellas who are chasing through, led by Patterson, Michael Patterson. Auckland's done superbly well to get back. Charlie Falmoina. No. Braid forced to pick it up, really, not in a position where he would shield it for players behind him because he just didn't have that support. Hayu. And Hilaire juggling the ball. So again, all of that momentum has bled off. It's inventive and effective. The kick through from Tuipulotu. Williams gets past a couple, leaves the ball there.
Get out, 6.
And then the Bridges come in and protect it for him. Keats. Bateman. The kick through from Ross. Not sure there'll be that many purists who like seeing that. Effective enough in the end. Ross came in just a little high on Hilaire, but no real danger in the end.
The classic case of the ELVs are playing their part here with these new rules. There is a lot more running, a lot more ball in hand, and less time off the field. So you can see them; they're blowing, and this will have a big impact in that second 40. As we're about to conclude the first one, Canterbury up 10-0.
There's the siren. So one last chance for Auckland to get back inside the Canterbury half. They may well be happy enough just to kick it out. No, Monroe Smith. And then it flicks out in inglorious fashion. Luckily for Auckland, they've managed to salvage something from that.
Read!
Still no sign that Auckland's prepared to die with the ball. And it's an admirable attitude, but after the siren, trailing by 10 and deep inside your own territory, you might be best just to dispatch it to the touchline.
Get away, Reed! Just lost forward.
And that will be the last act of the first half. 2 tries to Canterbury. Williams after 11. Patterson, that's James Patterson, after 32. Neither converted. And Canterbury leading Auckland in Christchurch by 10 points to 0. Worth the lead, but Auckland still in the game.
Well, it's a traditional game, isn't it? The Auckland versus the Canterbury. Few mistakes.